let's go through the 10 questions that were given to you before the start of the third mistake word patterns. So what you can do is you can read through the next, I don't know, 10 to 15, 20 pages that will go through all the different, will teach you about word patterns. And if you've gone through everything, I think you will mostly understand what the mistakes are here. Okay, some of them I already explained clearly, but I'm going to go through it again with you. So the first mistake here, thank you for considering me to be your employee. Going to Macmillan Dictionary, going to the verb consider, there are a few patterns here. What we are looking at is this one and this. Okay, so when it really depends on what this person is trying to say. If this person is trying to say, thank you that you've given me an interview and that you are in the midst of thinking and discussing with your other colleagues as to whether you are going to give me the job, which if that is the meaning of this sentence, then you are using this meaning. To formally discuss something before making a decision. So you've had the interview, and your prospective employer says, okay, I'm going to think about it and I'll let you know my decision. Then you say, thank you for considering me and blah blah blah. Then if this is the meaning, okay, is to consider someone for something. What is a something? Something is like the position, okay. So it in this case it will be the position of the thank you for considering me for the position, the manager's position or whatever it may be. Okay, so thank you for considering me for the preposition for the position. Okay. Right, so thank you for considering me for the position, considering me for something. Now, if you see just now, the sentence was thank you for considering me to be your employee, correct? Now, if it's to be your employee, it's actually using this particular pattern. Consider someone to be something, okay. And now this is the meaning, to have a particular opinion about someone or something, okay. Now that is not the meaning we want to use. Now the way you use this is like, I consider him a hero, I consider him my best friend, okay. You can say I consider him to be my best friend, I consider him to be a hero, okay, because the bracket to be is in brackets. So if you want to use this pattern, you are using it with this meaning. I consider President Obama to be the best president the United States has ever had. Right? So this is your opinion. Okay. So just now you were using the wrong pattern because the meaning is different. Okay. So this is the correct pattern. Consider someone for something. All right. Now, number 2, the price of oil reduced drastically after the war. Okay. Now, this is the mistake here, the pattern for this word, this verb, because reduce, we went through transitive and intransitive verbs. Transitive verb is one that takes an object, you have a noun directly after, and that's with the case of reduce. You see the way we use reduce here, there's no noun directly after. Okay, so let me just the way we use reduce is something reduce something. Okay, see, you have your noun, the object, the object here, right? So you could say the shopkeeper reduced the price. Right, this is your object. Okay, but there has to be some kind of object. Okay, so the price of oil reduced. Now there's no object here. Now let me tell you why people may not think there's a mistake with this, because if you say the shopkeeper decreased the price, okay, and you can also say the price decreased. Now do you see the difference between this? Now here this is using the verb, this is in a transitive because there's an object, but here there's no object after. This is used as an intransitive use, because when you look at increase, okay, the verb increase, it's both intransitive and transitive. Okay, so if you look at transitive, to make something larger, so the well, I'm using the word decrease, right? So decrease is the same thing. They are both intransitive and transitive. Okay, so to reduce something, don't get confused because it uses the word reduce. It just means to make it become less. Okay, to make something become less. That's why you have that object, or it just becomes less. Okay, so if you use it in transitive way, you say something like the price decreased. There's no object after, or the shopkeeper decreased the price. All right. So when you use increase or decrease, you can use it in both ways, transitive way and an intransitive way. Now, but the problem with reduce, you cannot use it as an intransitive way because reduce is transitive. So you can say the shopkeeper reduced the price, but you can't say the price reduced. Okay, that is wrong. Okay. So the price of oil is reduced? No. Now there are two ways of correcting this. Either use a passive. Okay, this is where you learn what passive in the, I think, the 9th mistake. Okay, passive is be plus past participle. The price of oil was reduced, okay, drastically after the war. But it doesn't sound as good as the price of oil. Either you put decrease, or if you want to still put reduced, then maybe you have to the war reduced the price of oil. Okay, so this is the one that made the price of oil go lower, right? So these are the two ways. Either the price of oil was reduced drastically after the war, or the war reduced the price of oil. Okay, now in both cases, there both sentences mean that there's something that actually, caused this price to go down. All right. If you want to give the feeling that, oh, this price just went down, okay, then you have to really use the word decrease. The price of oil decreased drastically after the war, right? This kind of gives a feeling that there is not something that made it go down. It just went down. Okay. Now, so you can put was reduced. Okay. Number 3, students lack. Now, lack, again, if you go to Macmillan, you see that lack is a noun, but here we're using it as a verb, and verb is transitive, which means you have an object directly. Now, students very often will say lack of, and you do hear lack of. The only reason why you hear lack of is that its use is, firstly, when you hear lack of in a sentence which is grammatically correct, it's because lack here is a noun. Okay, but if you use it as a verb, the verb lack is transitive, which means you don't have directly after the verb lack, you need an object, a noun. No, you don't have a preposition of. Okay, so that's a mistake here. If you use lack as a verb, it's transitive. There has to be what comes directly after, an object, courage. Okay, so the students lacked courage. Okay, transitive. it is common that students, okay, so common, what is the pattern for common? Some students will say common that, but the actual pattern is common for someone to do something. So it's common for students to play sport after school. The suggestion, now suggestion to go, is it to plus base verb? Is this a pattern, to plus base verb after the noun suggestion? So let's go to suggestion. And suggestion that, you don't have suggestion to do. Okay, so the suggestion that we should go to the cinema was good. He objects, going to this verb, he objects my viewpoint always. Now objects, what? How do you use the word object? Object as a verb, okay, not as a noun, as a verb. So you normally use it object to. It's always intransitive, and you normally have the preposition to. So he objects to my viewpoint always. Okay, Ben enjoyed to play tennis a lot. You guys should know this because the verb enjoy normally is followed by the verb ing. Okay, so enjoyed, not to play, but enjoyed playing. The little boy access to. Now how do you use access? Access here is a verb and not a noun, a verb. Access as a verb is transitive. So you see, don't use preposition to. Now why would people use preposition to after access? It is possible to use it because very often we do hear it, access to, but access to is a noun. You see, in the same way just now we looked at lack. When we put lack, the first word that comes out is lack as a noun, not lack as a verb. Why? Because lack as a noun is more common than lack as a verb. And it's true, we hear lack of. Lack as a noun can be used with lack of, as lack of, okay? So you hear lack of because lack as a noun is more common, but just make sure when you use lack as a verb, you have to realize you want to use it as a verb, and as a verb it is transitive. Okay, same for access. Access, the first word that comes out when you put access is the noun because this is more common than access as a verb, and very often we hear access to, but access to, when you have a to after access, it's used as a noun. But here we want to use access as a verb, and it's transitive, which means you don't have to. You have the noun directly after. All right, so access, noun, the computer. Okay, she agreed to her father's opinion. Can you say agreed to? Let's have a look at the verb agree. There are many patterns. Agree with preposition, agree that plus clause, agree on, agree about, agree to do, agree to. The preposition to. Yes, but what is the meaning when we use agree to? To say that you will do something that someone else wants or suggests. So if somebody tells you, go to the can you please do this for me? Can you go to the shop and buy me a cup of whatever, coffee? And you say, okay, I agree to that, which means yes, okay, whatever you want me to do, I will do. All right, so that's the meaning. Now, this, it is the opinion. It's saying that yes, my father believes this way, and I have the same opinion. Okay, to have the same opinion. Now, to have the same opinion, this is the number one meaning because this is the more common one. And how do we use this? Agree with, agree that, agree on, agree about. So you don't use agree to as a preposition, to as a preposition here. So you normally use agree with. Okay. The price raised last night. Okay, so let me go to raise and see if we can figure out. Okay. Remember, raise can be a verb and a noun here. Now they show the verb first because the verb is more common. All right. In this case, the verb is more common. Now, transitive, the verb is transitive. So what does transitive mean? You have to have an object directly after. Okay. So there's no object. All right. Now, there are two ways to correct this. the price, you're going to put it in passive, was raised last night. I mean, that's really that's if you still want to use the word raise. Remember, raise is a verb, but there's probably, if you want to use it as intransitive, then there's a word that has a sounds similar to raise, but is actually rise, which is intransitive. So if you put rise is intransitive, and that's probably the word you could put the price. Now, raised is raised in the past tense. Okay, so if you want to put rise in the past tense, what would it be? It will be, now be careful because these two words are always confused, rose. Okay, so you can say the price rose last night or the price was raised. Raise is a transitive verb, and rise is intransitive. Okay, now if you're a bit confused with transitive, intransitive, and passive, because passive is, I said you could put the price was raised, right? Just go back to I think the 9th mistake here, if I'm not wrong, and go and read a bit about, was it 11th or 9th? But go and read a bit about passive and active. Okay, because if you say the shopkeeper raised the price last night, so you are using this as a transitive verb, okay, which is transitive. Okay, so this is the object here. When it becomes passive, the price, and then you have the be, was raised. You can put by the shopkeeper. It's not compulsory. You don't have to put by the shopkeeper last night. Okay, so that's the reason why you can, if you want to use this as transitive, you have to put this is transitive, you put the be plus the past participle. This becomes passive. All right. Okay, so these are the mistakes, and pretty much if you go through all this, you will go through again. I think I've explained pretty clearly. You read through it a number of times. It will give you all the information you need to understand everything about word patterns, okay? And use your dictionary, Macmillan. All right, there's a lot of stuff here. So go through it carefully and you'll understand it better.